friends. Welcome back to another episode of JoyPad Podcast. It is me, again, Megan, as I'm joined by my co-host Fleming, Pinto, and last but not least, Tom. We're hoping you are joining us for another exciting episode of Giving Tree fan fiction, video game chatter, and making up fictional rap careers for our friend's child.
We can't go down that rabbit hole yet.
Anyway, I will pass the conversation to Fleming. How are you? What are you drinking? What are you playing?
Well, I am doing good. Well, that's the word. This is, I think, the second week in a row that the person who is the topic boy / girl has come to me. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just pointing that out. I'm number one. But I am drinking a Yingling Golden Pilsner, and it is mostly because I had one available. It's pretty good, as it has been, and I'm hoping to finish them pretty soon. I've got a couple left, and I don't really drink too much outside the podcast nowadays, so they're going to be around for a couple more weeks. I also have some water in my Yeti bottle right there because I do get thirsty. I had a pizza. It was like a frozen pizza for dinner, and they're very salty. So
Yeah.
you always get a little bit thirsty after those kind of things. And with the podcast and talking, that's what you need. But anyway, I'm also playing. We'll probably talk as a group about the Wild 8, our new found group game. Beyond that, I'm still in a little bit of a StarCraft Brood War kick because it's an easy game to play. It's not easy. It's not an easy game to play. It's an easy game to just jump in and find something simple and play. And the people aren't very good anymore unless you start playing 1v1 ranked games. But for anyone that's never played StarCraft, just imagine trying to move an army of like 80 units with your hotkeys, and you also have to, as a Terran, lay mines and siege your tanks, and control your science vessels separately, and so they don't bunch up. Because if you do, then you get stasis, and then you lose, and it's a lot of work. Every time I play StarCraft, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so tired after every game, even 3v3 BGH games and stuff like that. So anyway, beyond that though, I have not been playing too many games recently. So, that's about it. I'm looking for another game to play solo. You guys gave some great recommendations a couple weeks ago, and I just haven't really chosen and jumped into something. So hopefully soon I will. But anyway, enough about me. Tom, as you nod, aggressively, how are you doing? What are you drinking? And what have you been playing?
This is my aggressive nodding. It's very aggressive. I'm drinking a Rain Orange Dreamsicle, which we recently found out is a company owned by the Monster Energy Drink family of companies. And I'm questioning my life and the corporate structures of America as I do so now. I recently purchased a new game on Steam, which I haven't played yet, but I think might be another game that we might be able to gather around as a group. It's called Generation Zero. And it's kind of a survival FPS where some folks in 1989 wake up and there's giant robots terrorizing their area. They're very realistic looking giant robots, but it looks like a good kind of survival kind of game.
Now hold up.
I was just looking at that last night.
I was born in 1989, and I don't remember any giant robots. Okay?
You weren't born in Sweden.
Okay, you raise a fine point.
I was also born in 1989. I don't remember the robots. But
well, you weren't born in Sweden.
I know. I was going to say, but if they told me they were out there in Sweden rampaging, who am I to doubt?
Listen, I was born in 88, and I'll tell you, I know nothing about these robots.
Oh, dang. I thought she had the straight dope for
I'm surprised, you didn't hear on the news and as a about 1-year-old go, oh man, this is going to really affect the geopolitical landscape.
Shit. There goes my future.
She was already formulating ways to get out of the robot apocalypse. But yeah, so, like Fleming said, we've been playing, was it the Wild 8? Is that the name of it? I always forget. I just remember the 8. That's the only part I remember. Which to me is like survival Diablo, but we can talk more about that later. But I thought this game, it was reasonably cheap when I bought it, so I thought that that might be a fun one to do too. And it looks good, like the graphics look nice.
Yeah.
Um, Games that I have been playing, I am full on back in Crusader Kings 3 fever. I have started a game where I'm playing as Wales, and I recently conquered all of Britannia, and I have a very large chunk of Western Europe already in my uh, clutches, I guess you could say. So I've really come to like the game, and I've really been getting deeper and deeper into it. And one of the reasons I really like it is that it is one of those games that your understanding of it gets deeper the more you play, and you find more new, exciting ways to play as you continue to play it. I think I've talked at length last time about how figuring out how to murder people was very eye-opening in the game, because there's a lot of nuance to it, and a lot of just being able to figure out some strategies to do that. What I've recently kind of figured out are ways to remove certain people from certain positions, or remove less desirable heirs from succession so that you get the guy that you want. So reasonably, I had my very elderly king who unified all of the lands of Britannia and kicked out the Vikings and took over all kinds of land in Europe, was just about to die, and I was just holding on for just the last amount of I forget what the term is, but the trees for like dynasty points. And I got it like right before he died, and hit that button to disinherit my 44-year-old son so that my 19-year-old son, who had the most amazing abilities, could take over when I die. And it just felt good. Like I got my heart racing to throw that kid out into the streets. So
Have you
it's been
Tom,
fun.
have you had any so in Europa Universalis, also made by Paradox, if you are kind of like the bad guy, for lack of a better description, you'll get like groups of people all allying against you.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the same kind of thing when you become bigger, when you've conquered more territory? I haven't played Crusader Kings 3 yet, even though I bought it. Oops.
Yeah, nice. I think they're coming out with a new expansion soon too, which should be exciting. But yes, you do. They call them factions, and you'll get factions rallied against you when you're a leader and your people within your own realm want to try to like oppose you or get independence and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get other countries trying to declare war on you, mostly just to try and like take your land. Or you'll get Muslim crusades and stuff like that against you if you're a Christian leader, or vice versa. So that's the one thing I've been kind of on the lookout for. I think being in like Britain, it hasn't happened as much because it's further away from some of those lands.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get closer and closer to like the Byzantine Empire, where there's people with a lot of troops, they kind of start attacking you more often.
Gotcha.
But like now that my nation's bigger, I don't have to worry about it so much. But when I was smaller, it would be you get attacked kind of all the time. I own one random chunk of like Greece. I have like one county in Greece that some guy in my nation decided to go invade and take over. So there's just this chunk of Britannia all the way over there. I'm like, what did you do? But yeah, that's been it. I've sunk a whole bunch of time into it. So yeah. Mr. Pinto, what games have you been playing? How are you doing? And what beverage are you enjoying?
I've not really had time for games because work has been consuming my life. So I've mostly been working and sleeping, aside from the couple of times we've managed to eke out some time to play Ultimate Chicken Horse and the Wild 8. I am currently drinking a Cider Boys Peach County Apple Peach Hard Cider. It is delicious and very easy to drink, so I am glad I have only one.
You don't want to have too good a time.
It's already half gone. Yeah, and yeah, I haven't been playing too much. Again, like, this has been a running thing. I keep talking about how I really want to play Resident Evil 8, and I still do. but I haven't had the time to sit down and commit to it. So instead, I bought the Black Sheep of Final Fantasy Land and bought Final Fantasy VIII Remastered on my Switch, and I've been playing that. I also
Are
got.
you the best looking guy here?
I am. I just got past that scene actually, right before we started playing, or before we started the podcast, and I got my new gaming chair, which is why
yeah.
I may look extremely relaxed in my footage. You guys can't see me, but man, this chair is comfy, and I really like it. I bought the Secret Labs Titan, not a sponsor, but just
I
saying,
wish they would sponsor.
yeah.
Please sponsor us.
This chair was very easy to put together, though the box was gigantic, and bringing it upstairs to my room was not a good time.
Oh no.
But the assembly was easy, and I really like the chair.
The packaging is just nice too.
It is.
That they send it in.
Yeah.
Like they do a nice job.
I love nice packaging.
I always appreciate it when the effort goes into the little things like that. I do.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for me. So Megan, we circle back around to you once more.
Whoa.
How are you doing? What are you drinking? What have you been playing? I wanted to get increasingly more aggressive with each question. So enjoy that.
topic?
What are you doing? I'm doing okay on this this Friday Eve. Happy Thump Day, friends. As far as what I'm drinking, no alcoholic beverages. I'm just enjoying a Snapple, a lemon Snapple. You know, good old reliable. As far as what am I playing, I'm not really playing too much. A little bit of Fall Guys. Kind of taking a break from games with Resident Evil 8 being done. Played a little bit of the Wild 8 with y'all. I don't know. Is this the part where we talk about the Wild 8?
I saw one other game that you have been playing on our YouTube, which was Final Fantasy VII, the original, where you named Tifa 8.
To Fate.
To Fate.
I forgot about that. Pinto, when did we play that?
A couple months ago.
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Shh, don't spoil the magic.
I'm sorry to ruin the magic. God, that game made me angry. I thought that I really liked turn-based combat. I had so many fond memories of playing Final Fantasy and Secret of Mana and Legend of Gaia, and yeah, I sat down and played that game and wanted to punch a hole through the monitor.
So I don't know if we'll be finishing that, is what Megan is saying.
That's fine.
No, I mean, we can
feel
play
the
more.
same way.
But I do have it on the Switch as well as through Steam. I would like to play the original just to see how it compares to the remake, which I really enjoyed. Just got to do something about that combat.
Well, here, Megan, if we decide to play it on the Switch, you can use the triple speed feature.
Oh.
And just burst through the game
There we go.
At triple time.
That's probably the way to do it.
Now you're talking. But yeah, other than those games, not too much. The Wild 8 has been fun, interesting. It makes me think of like The Long Dark meets Valheim. How would you guys describe it?
I totally think of it as survival crafting Diablo. Like
Yeah.
it's very top down. It's not as combat focused, which I like, but it's very don't die focused, which is why it's survival. And your enemies are deadly. Even, just the wolves that you run into can kill you very easily if you're not careful. And I think the thing I really like about it is it seems to favor playing with friends.
Yeah.
I think we've been in a number of situations where if any of us had been playing solo, we'd have been dead many times over. So
Yeah. As the name implies, we can play with up to 8 people. There are 4 of us right now.
I'd also like to raise my hand as the only person that's died, as is usual for our group.
Didn't
I
Tom
harvested
die
your
to the
human
cold?
flesh. No.
Well, we revived you. That's
I was
right.
losing.
But
Yeah.
you were unconscious though from
Yes.
Yeah.
so you were close, but yeah. You were the only one to die, Pinto, and we harvest your human flesh.
Mhm.
And I believe you ate it, right? When you
Me?
came back?
Or
Yeah,
we
No,
just
you
have
no,
it.
I didn't.
We still have it.
Oh.
Ooh, I call dibs.
It'd be weird
Human meat.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the game in general, but it's not, we haven't gone far in the story, but it's not quite as good as something like The Forest, for example, which is another group game that we play that's more
Yeah.
survival based. The graphics aren't as good. I think the game is, I don't want to say it's clunky. I'll describe it as like slippy, for lack of a better description. Not Star Fox slippy, but
Yeah.
because
Terrible.
it's like you can't tell where a hill is versus like if you're gonna fall as easily. So like
Yeah.
we set up our
Mhm.
camp on the map just above like a really big crater slash canyon kind of thing. And the first, I don't know, couple days, if you will, in the game, so let's just say the first couple hours or so that we've played, I have fallen in that crater and taken like half my HP away multiple times. And, you know, with you only having 100 HP and, I think you can't even really find each other if you like went unconscious easily. Like it's kind of tough to recommend the game to anyone who wants like a really polished game.
Well,
That's kind of
I-
where I'm at with it.
I have to stop you there for a minute just with the hills and stuff, because I would say in a game like The Forest, we had enough of a similar experience of sliding and falling off hills and getting knocked out and unconscious and stuff like that enough. And it's just a little bit harder to see in a top-down experience,
Yeah.
especially because the environment's very snowy, so everything kind of blends in a little bit.
Yep.
So I get that, but I think at the same time, there's a lot of that element in that game, and we probably experienced a similar number of slip and fall incidents in like The Forest or something.
Yeah, and top down, I think
It's
it is
odd.
because it's odd, and I think it's because it's so white, like, because of the snow and everything. Like everything kind of blends in, so you can't easily tell when something's a hill versus something's just some rocks. I can't figure out like, will I take fall damage? How bad will it be as easily because of the top down experience? So again, I'm not saying the game is bad, but I would describe it as kind of clunky in that respect. I wish they had been able to better show when you're going to fall and when you're not going to fall. And that's just, again, top down, I think is kind of causing that. But as we get into the story, I'm excited to try it out. I like the fact that you can build your character skill wise differently.
Yeah.
So like to that point of Diablo, Tom, I think that's really good. I think it's kind of interesting. Like one character can be stronger, or one character is in general stronger with ranged attacks or with building things. But another character is really tanky and, won't take as much damage. So I think that's really cool. I haven't really seen it come up too much except in the construction. So I know like I have I forget his name, Oliver. I think he takes a little less resources to construct stuff. So I noticed at the beginning of the game, I was able to build some things you guys couldn't yet because I didn't need the resources. But beyond that, I haven't seen much of the, other skills come to light yet. So Pinto, I know you're playing as the tank, right?
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say I'm a more combat-oriented character.
Yeah.
So, when we were running around last night, I was able to take a lot more hits and
Okay.
deal more damage than you guys were able to. So that's part of why I was kind of trying to lead the pack a little bit, because it's easier for the character I picked, who I think his name is Cole. He's just tankier. So, and I had all the armor and everything, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll go in front until I'm almost dead, basically. And then I was actually dead, so it worked out pretty well.
But you were also by yourself fighting two wolves at that moment, if I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah,
So
and that wasn't even my, like, I'm going off by myself moment. It was just bad luck in the
Yeah.
fact that I happened to be caught by two wolves.
yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments kind of like that where you'll get surprised by things like that. We had a random glowing man show up in our camp
That was weird.
Yeah, it was very random, but we
Yeah.
beat the crap out of him, and then he left us a magic glowy diamond. So
I have that diamond. It makes me glow.
yes,
No, you were the one. You were
Yeah.
chosen.
You are the glowy man. And I would say the only other thing, and I've complained about this a lot as we've played, is the kind of scarcity of materials on things that should be pretty common. For example, if you kill a wolf, you're probably going to get a lot of bones out of that wolf. If you kill a deer, still going to get a lot of bones out of that deer. I frequently get 0 bones from killing an animal, and I understand that it's meant to be a game resource, but I feel like they
drops
could have
are,
used
yeah.
something else.
Well,
Yeah.
you take something like the forest, and you burn a body, and you got like a
All
skull
the
head
bones.
every
1,000
time. You got
bones.
you get like 10 bones, I think it was, somewhere around that. So it's just, I agree with you. I'd rather a game say, oh, this item is going to cost 6 bones, and I collect 10 bones from a body, or even 6 bones from a body, versus this costs 2 bones, and then only once in a while I'm collecting a body. Because if you don't get a reward, and this actually, I want to kind of hold a little bit because I was thinking about making this a topic, kind of. But if you don't get a reward, what was the point? And I'd rather get a reward even if it's not enough to warrant like the thing I want to buy yet.
I want to feel like I'm making progress.
Yes, exactly.
Fair enough. Yeah, I dig it. I'm interested to play more of it and get a fully formed opinion. I think it's too soon to really say too much other than what we've said so far.
The only question I have for you guys, not that we are 8 people, but do you think the game was designed to get closer to 8 people? So to the point of collecting resources, building like a little camp, do you feel like it would have been
so?
You don't?
I feel
Okay,
like
I was just
I
curious.
feel like it would get chaotic with 8
Yeah.
people. I mean, we have friendly fire turned on, and we're trying to defend against wolves as 4 people, and we're already hitting each other by accident and causing all kinds of trouble. So
Yeah.
8 seems like too much.
It might make
that's kinda what I
combat
thought too.
better, but overall, I like when I think of like gaming group sizes, I think like 3 to 4 people is ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 8 would just be too much.
Yeah, I just find it interesting that the game has 8 characters who you can play with up to 8 people, but then those, if you're playing with 4, it's already a little hectic at times. It'd be very hard for someone watching to understand what's going on. As 4 of us, I think we're okay, and especially, since we talk so much with the podcast, we're okay. But yeah, I can't imagine an 8-person game of this. It'd be very hard to navigate.
I could see it as 2 teams of 4, or having a handful of people more dedicated to tasks at camp, like constantly crafting or cooking or improving things. I just don't think it would be as fun of an experience for the people who are on the domestic tasks.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we'll form a better opinion though as we kind of get through the storyline.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about it more, I'm sure. But anyway, I guess we should talk about this week's topic. So I'm not sure if you gentlemen are aware. I shared a few things in our group chat that we have, but we had a few announcements today. Sony had a State of Play showcase for Horizon Forbidden West. Gameplay, no release date yet. Techland also hosted a live stream to reveal gameplay and a release date, finally, for the long-awaited Dying Light 2, which I am really looking forward to. I enjoyed the first game a lot. And then that, I believe, comes out December 7th, they announced.
Nice.
And then in an effort to further prove that we are soothsayers, Sonic Team revealed a new 3D Sonic adventure for 2022. There's just like it's a teaser. It's Sonic's feet running through a forest. It made me happy. So we'll see. If you listened last week, we talked about, hey, Sonic, where did you go? What happened to you?
I really hope it's a sequel to Sonic Boom. I hope it's Sonic Boom too.
God.
But with that all being announced, I wanted to talk a little bit about E3, which is our next big event that's happening. It starts June 12th to the 15th. We've already had some companies confirm that they'll be there, such as Square, Sega, Gearbox. I know Nintendo, Ubi or Ubisoft, Capcom. Bethesda and Microsoft are also teaming up to do like a joint panel to talk about some things. So I really just kind of wanted to talk about, what are you guys excited for from E3? Do you really care? I'm excited because I like to keep up on what's coming out, what's new, what's being talked about. But yeah, what is everybody excited for, if anything?
Megan, is it fully virtual again?
Yes, yeah, this year it's fully virtual.
Yeah, I thought so.
That makes sense. I mean, I would say as a broad stroke, the number one thing I would definitely be interested in is, as a PlayStation 5 owner, I want more PlayStation 5 things.
Yes.
Give me things to make my PlayStation 5 worth the money and hassle that I paid for it.
To my knowledge, I don't think Sony will be there. I know Square is going to be there. A few companies that do develop for PlayStation will be there, but Sony themselves have said they're not going to be there. And Konami dropped out. They had originally confirmed, and now they're like, nope.
Dang,
Sorry.
no pachinko
Yeah.
machines?
Our next pachinko game isn't prepared yet. Sorry.
But yes, I'm with you on like PS5 content.
Yeah, and anything that's out there, I'm really looking forward to. I already bought the Mass Effect, I think Legendary Edition is the title of it, on the PS5. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but that's kind of like the first title I'm excited to play on my new console experience.
Nice.
And of course, I've played Sackboy and stuff like that, but I really would like to see more from Bethesda on fancy space title game.
Yes, Starfield.
Starfield. That seems like it's going to be probably an Xbox or PC exclusive.
Yeah, there are already rumors with them saying it's going to be exclusive to PC and Xbox.
Megan, have they said much about like what that game's actually about? Is it like a space exploration, or is it about military conflict in space, or has there been anything like that, or is it Deep Space Nine where they're just hanging out at Quark's bar? I don't know.
Jack shit has been released about Starfield and what it is. I believe it's supposed to be an open world adventure in space, like along the same lines as, Fallout and Elder Scrolls. I just think it's them taking the series into space. They released a small, quick, pretty teaser, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. Time is weird, especially now. But they haven't released anything since then, other than the fact that it's potentially going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC right now when it launches.
Yeah, I would love to know more about that. If it's like a non-satirical Outer Worlds even, that would be fantastic. Even though I love the satiricalness of Outer Worlds and would just love to have Outer Worlds too. That would also be amazing.
That would be cool. They are Obsidian, I think, did Outer Worlds. They are supposedly working on like their Elder Scrolls. I think it's called Avowed. They announced last year, maybe.
Oh, I bet that's going to be good. Obsidian makes the best games.
They really do. And that's
why
who
New Vegas was the best.
Has control of them? Microsoft.
Of course. You know what? It's just more of a case for why I'm happy that I have my gaming PC and it's as tricked out as it is. So I can, at least enjoy those games without worrying. I'm probably gonna cave and buy an Xbox. Like that's kind of where I feel. And I just dropped this money on like a PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I like my PS5, but Xbox is starting to push back in like the console war at this point. So
it'll be interesting to see the next couple of years and what happens with their recent acquisitions. I'm thinking, like, I have the Series S. I'm kind of wishing I waited until I could find a Series X, just because I had some issues playing one of the launch titles, Medium. It didn't run so well on the Series S. It crashed
garbage.
A couple of times, and frame rate got weird. So
that shouldn't be a thing. If you're going to release a console, it should play the games.
Yeah,
I'm very upset.
I think it's like 4 teraflops versus like 12 on the Series X, and I don't know if that's what's causing the issue. So
give me them flops.
Yeah, but as far as E3, I'm looking forward to Fable. I hope they maybe talk a little bit more. Still a little iffy because it's being developed by the group that does Forza.
Microsoft owns that too, right?
They do.
They
Yep.
always have, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's always been Microsoft exclusive. Well, until like years later. I think you can find it on PC now. With Square being there, I'm hoping there's more on Final Fantasy 16.
Oh yeah, the Game of Thrones Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited about that. I feel like it's got to be super early days for that, but I don't know. I'm hopeful. I wasn't big on 15, but the way that 7 Remake has played out, and with the idea behind 16, despite it being a total Game of Thrones ripoff, I like the idea. I like Game of Thrones. It's gonna be fun.
Me too.
Yeah, I'd like to see more about Intergrade and kind of like the next chapter in Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. I know they've been pushing, Square has, a little bit more of the intermission chapter starring Yuffie on their social media channels. So they actually recently released some stills of Fort Condor, which they've preserved the minigame, which is fantastic. And just another kind of like feather in their cap for the great job they've been doing of transitioning the oddities of Final Fantasy VII, I guess I would say. So that was my impetus for buying my PS5. So I'm excited to see more of that.
Yeah, that's next month, I think.
Yeah,
you'll
June.
be able to acquire it, hopefully. What about you, Pinto? Fleming, I know you're mostly a PC gamer. Anything you're hoping to see or hear about?
Sorry, I had a party foul.
I was wondering what
there's
going
beer.
on.
Things are happening.
You got so close.
Oh, it's terrible. Yes, I am looking forward to Jesus Christ, Tom.
Oh yes.
No, you already kind of mentioned it. I am definitely interested in hearing more about exclusivity when it comes to Microsoft and Bethesda and their games. Maybe it's just my impression of things, but I feel like Xbox has always been the redheaded stepchild, if you will, of consoles, in the sense that they have some great action kind of games, but like we've talked about recently, they don't have, the game that kind of, if you will, saves the console. And I know, Megan, we talked that they have not made money on the Xbox.
Ever.
Exactly. So it's one of those where I'm kind of like, are we going to see them push more games to be exclusive, even though they said they'd come to PC too? Like, would they put out more content, at least at the start, to consoles, give it a year or something before they release it to PC or to other consoles? So I want to hear more. I don't think we'll see that, especially in a virtual sense. We're not going to hear much. I feel like the media has gotten a little bit, they don't challenge these developers very much. They don't challenge the people they talk to, just even outside of games, as much anymore, because they want that exclusivity, that exclusive interview, that access, into the developers and everything. So I'm not expecting to hear anything, but if you can read between the lines, I think is where you will kind of find, are we seeing anything interesting coming out of it? So that's probably where I am with it. I don't personally expect to watch live or anything, any part of it. I probably will read more recaps on it, and also, like you said, Megan, listen to what you send us is probably how I'm going to get a lot of the news when it comes to certain games. So that's where I am.
I think.
That's where I am. I'm gonna finish cleaning up this beer now before.
Oh no!
There was for our YouTube fans. This is my bottle of beer. This is what's left. I always end up ripping off labels. It was up like here, and I've gotten most of it with a couple tissues, but I don't have any napkins, so disasters have occurred. So I'm back on mute for a little bit as I take care of this.
I was just gonna say, I think on that subject of companies not being challenged, a lot of E3 really started out as being like the game symposium. And since then, we've come to a point where a lot of publishers and developers took their ball and went home and they just do their own thing.
Yeah.
Which I want to say for better or worse, but I feel like it's mostly worse.
Yeah.
You know, and any sort of expo is just going to be showing off the best and brightest of things that you have, but when it's not in your own house, you're open to more criticism. Whereas, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, Blizzard and Sony, or Sony to some point, like Square, are often just kind of touting their own thing and, you know, clapping at themselves and patting themselves on the back. So
look at the shiny new beautiful thing that we're producing, but don't ask us anything about it. Just look at it. Look at it. Don't touch it until it's a month or two out from release.
And we have those experiences like the Diablo mobile game thing where people ask the questions about that and kind of made Blizzard look stupid.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a very good thing, because if Blizzard, or if you know, any leader, any developer, you know, cannot get those curveballs and answer them effectively, I think we've become a world that has to be, like, you have to be so prepared with how you're going to say things, that you are, you know, you don't want to hear criticism. You don't want to hear challenging questions. And if you're going to get the challenging questions, you want to hear what that question is in advance so you can curtail your message to it. And I love when a company, or, you know, a senior leader of a company, or, you know, that you work for or anything like that, is challenged unexpectedly, because I'm okay with them saying we don't know, but I feel like a lot of companies out there, a lot of game developers, don't want to answer that yet, or they don't want to promise the moon, and then, you know, you're only getting the Earth or something. So
they don't want No Man's Sky it.
Exactly. So I think that is really unfortunate, because what to me makes a great, you know, game, great company, a great development of that game is them setting expectations right, and then exceeding them by holding something back for a little while or something, or, you know, bringing out that curveball later too. So I'm really sad when it comes to these kind of things, and that's where I am when, Megan, you told us what the topic was. I'm like, it's going to be all curtailed publishing, all, you know, things that are just not
it's all hype.
Yeah, it's all hype. It's not really giving me anything new. And if it is, it's so, like, ironed out to be exactly what these companies want. And that's just not the way. Of never forget, Tom, to the Diablo point, I'll never forget when Diablo Mobile was announced, and, like, one of the guys' questions was, like, walking up was like, is this a joke? And, like, the developers you could tell of the game are like, oh, this is not going well. And, like, there was multiple people that were like, what? Like, they had their hands up like this, like, what the hell is this? And I just, like, I loved that. It's one of my favorite moments of all time, because you could realize just how Blizzard actually felt about, like, that. And the funny thing about that story, if we go down the storyline, I think it was, I don't know if it was a BlizzCon, but whatever it was, they had asked people to provide their questions as they walked up to the microphone. And the guy that asked that question actually said something like, this is my question, that was completely unrelated to what he actually said when he walked up. It was like, yeah, is this a joke? And you could tell immediately the developers did not expect that, did not know how to answer it, and had to stand for their crappy game. And I think that's such a good thing. So I know we're not going to get that, unfortunately, but I really want to see that come back.
Video game journalism, I guess you can call it, is such a weird thing to me. Because, like, these games that are in development are so shrouded in secrecy, because you don't want things to come out ahead of time. You don't want certain things released. And it's almost like by the time someone can question what you're doing, it's too late to turn around and change things or fix them.
So, Megan, it's interesting you say this. Not about, and we were talking about journalism, not to toot my own horn, but I remember when I had a journalism website when it came to competitive games. And I remember finding out information about at the time, funny enough, a former employer of mine, but one of the largest, if not the largest, competitive esports franchise in North America. I remember finding out information through a source not associated with the team, that was really important to me, not to get someone within the team to give me this information, because I felt that was a weird conflict of interest, even if they were a former employer of mine. And I found out who they were bringing into the organization, and there was a big debate among me and some people that were writing with me about it, and we were deciding whether or not it made sense to come out with that. And we ultimately did. We ultimately published something about it.
Okay.
You know, and, you know, we were able to say, this is the team they're bringing in. This is the merger that's actually occurring with this former, you know, group of people. These are the 5 players they chose for their Counter-Strike team. And I remember after that getting a call from the owner of the, because I used to work for him, so I knew him, and like him being like, what that, like, why? He's like, if you had reached out to me, you would have gotten exclusivity. You know, I would have been like, if you had said, hey, I know about this. And I'm like, yeah, but 1, I don't want to hold that over you.
Right.
And 2, then you're doing a disservice to your viewers and to your readers. You want to challenge people, or you want to post what you know, because there's benefit to that. And I could see his side too, saying like, oh, you know, we were going to do like a sponsored event because we wanted to like talk about our new sponsors we were getting with this too, and you didn't have that information. And if you did, maybe you would have wanted to hold off to help the industry as a whole, and competitive games in North America in 2009 were not doing quite as well as they are now. But yeah, it's a weird situation, because I get both sides of it, but I just think when it comes to journalistic integrity, when it comes to people and, you know, these events integrity, they need to be willing to challenge these organizations live on the spot.
Yeah.
Your questions can't be canned.
No.
I mean, when
people
you're
read through it, they read.
No, absolutely.
They smell it from a mile away.
And I think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I think if you can have an authentic response to things, people react better to that, especially in this day and age, because, you know, like you said, everyone's got the canned answers, but when you can have that organic response, it's just more appreciated and welcomed, and you're real. You're real. Be real.
I could go down hours of talk about 2021 and how the most valued aspect of yourself and your company is your transparency, integrity, and willing to be challenged by the individual, if you will. So people being able to get up and ask whatever the hell they want about your game, even if you're like, I don't know, or I can't tell you that, or I'd rather save that for release. People appreciate that over another corporation, often a mega corporation too, getting up and saying, here's the questions we sent you 3 months ago that your VP of product marketing had to approve. Like, people hate that.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
I don't want a press release.
Do you think that the refreshing bite of a Coca-Cola will ever fade out of the current trend of American tastemakers? Well, thanks for that question, Susie from...
It's a very tough one.
Super New York Post. I think the refreshing taste of Coke will be around forever, and American people just always seem to prefer it.
Whereas in that example, Tom, if the person had said, you know, sweetened beverages are going down, they were down 6% in 2020 and another 13% in 2019, how is Coca-Cola going to deal with that? Which, by the way, please sponsor us, because we keep talking about you. But if they ask that kind of question, and the CEO or the chief marketing officer, CMO, something like that, has to answer for that and comes up with a reasonable expectation, well, we're diversifying into non-sweetened beverages, like we bought well, I know Pepsi bought bubbly. I don't remember the brand for Coke, but like non-sweetened beverages, iced teas. So Pure Leaf is now owned by Coca-Cola, for example. I think that is really, that's the good answer. That's the honest and that's the transparent answer, which I think is really, really important. It's so frustrating not seeing that happen.
Listen,
and it's
I just want to know what Tasty Cake is going to bring to the table for E3. Will it
Listen
be the
to me.
strawberry cribbit?
Oh, there's some news about Tasty Cake, which I totally forgot when you asked how I'm doing. I'm doing well. I got a picture from my father-in-law this morning. He was at the store and he saw the Tandy Cakes or whatever they're called, the chocolate hard shell cake with the chocolate the chocolate baked, good inside, and it has strawberry in it. And it's a seasonal item. He didn't see any strawberry crimpets, but we're close, people. Keep fighting for it.
Those things are good. Yeah, I guess I guess what we're saying is if there's something you're looking for at E3, it's authenticity and a willingness to be challenged and say I don't know. Like, it's fine. I don't care if you don't have all the answers to your game. Or even your company. If someone asks you a question, you can say I don't know.
Which with a digital event this year, I don't know that we're going to get a lot of questions, if
Probably
anything.
not.
And if there are questions, they'll probably already be like pre-provided. Fleming looks panicked.
I'm sorry. I think we're having an earthquake. Do you hear that car alarm? My whole house just vibrated for 20, 30 seconds. Maybe not quite that, but I think we just had an earthquake. Holy shit.
Breaking news on the JoyPad podcast. Earthquake strikes home of Fleming.
Pinto, please make sure the topic includes earthquake. What? I'm okay.
Earthquake or fuck the media or
I didn't even see anything move on your camera or anything.
No.
It wasn't that bad, but it was a solid rumble. Like, it was either a really large jet, which we do have Air Force One actually fly over us once in a while for testing, but I think it was an earthquake because I felt it. So it says there was one on Sunday. Sorry, I'm going to keep reading about this. I'll let you know what I find.
Pinto, how are you?
I don't think there was an earthquake here, so I'm good. I'm all right.
No, there was not, at least that I felt.
All right, well, we're good then. It's all good here. I think what I've taken away from this, and this is something I've come to learn about myself as we've done this podcast over the past year or so, I think I have become the crotchety old man of the group when it comes to video games.
Get off my lawn.
Well, just... I'm sure at some point I will get a PS5. Right now, there's nothing that jumps out at me and excites me. Even, cool, Final Fantasy VII intermission and integrate and all that. Okay, yeah, I mean, I want it, but it's not like a huge desire for me. I think what I'm most frustrated about, and I think we've been over this quite a bit, is there are so many IPs that have just laid dormant for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a demand for them, but it's not enough for companies to warrant doing anything with, which is a gigantic bummer. Because every company now just has their flagship, and that's it. I recently read an interview on some gaming website. I'm not going to give them credit because I don't remember who it is, and also most gaming websites suck. But I was reading an article about the former developer of Star Fox, and he said, yeah, Nintendo just wants money, man. They don't care. They're just going to pump out the games that make them money. Why do you think there's 20,000 Pokemon games coming out? People lap that shit up, and it makes us money. That's why we're just going to keep pumping out Pokemon games. And he's like, it's not that the games are bad. They're not. They're enjoyable. But it's essentially just the same game over and over again, which I've said many times. And it's just... it's going to make the money. That's all they care about. That's why we haven't seen a new Star Fox or a new Metroid. It's just these IPs aren't going to make them the money they want that a Legend of Zelda will make them or a Mario will make them.
Right. That's where your indie developers come in as the innovators. I feel like they're the ones that are developing the new, fresh content because the bigger companies, your AAA companies, they're too scared to do something different and not make profit.
I have to say, I think there's another issue for games like Metroid and Star Fox, though, because they're kind of IPs that are tied to bygone formats. So, like, the Metroidvania concept is still around in a lot of indie games, but as a AAA title, there's not really a AAA Metroidvania, and you can't
Right.
really do it in the 3D space. Prove me wrong, Nintendo, but
They
I mean,
tried it with the
even
DS.
did they? Is
Wasn't
it the
there a
Metroid
Metroid
Prime?
game on the DS?
Was it in
Correct me
like
if
the
I'm wrong.
2D style, or was it the
It was-
Metroid Prime?
I think it was 3D. I don't know. I don't remember. I could be mistaken.
I know they made some of the Metroid Prime titles. I haven't really played with those too much, but I know I don't think those really did as well as Metroid Super Metroid did back in the day. Which it's unfortunate, but I think that kind of format there's something lost in translation a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they
and
tried to adapt them, like Star Fox 64, was it?
Right.
The like open world-ish game.
No, that was
Oh,
Star
that was-
Fox like Adventure something.
Oh
on the
yeah,
Game-
that's what it
GameCube
was.
one.
GameCube, sorry.
Which GameCube. That's the last time we saw a Star Fox game.
Well, that's why, because Star Fox is a rail shooter, and they tried to take it off of being a rail shooter because rail shooter is a bygone format. No one really does that anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's
So-
why we don't see turn-based RPGs anymore. That's why we're never going to see another Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, because if they make it turn-based, people will complain, but if they change it away from turn-based, it's not what you want. It's not I just don't
I
think it
would
would
say
live up to the
Chrono.
expectations.
Bravely Default did well.
Yeah.
Octopath Traveler did pretty well.
And they did
They-
a sequel to Bravely.
Yep. So I don't know. I think it's still possible. Those aren't like the flagship Square titles, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and
Pinto.
also they were they strictly handheld? Like,
Bravely
yes.
is on the Switch.
Yeah, they're getting ported to the Switch.
but I mean, that's a port. It wasn't developed for the system. And I mean, I know that's nitpicking, but at the same time, still, just like, I don't know. I guess I am nostalgic and I want to live in the past. And again, it's the same thing where it's been proven, like, if there were a new Final Fantasy Tactics game in, the same art style, would you not want to play it?
Oh, I'd play it. I'd play the crap out of it.
I
Exactly.
just don't know about little kids and stuff who never
Yeah.
experienced those kind of games.
But
Would
it's
they play
not
it?
for little kids at that point. You know what
No,
I mean?
I know. I'm just saying that.
I'm saying, I
think
mean, it could be
that's-
eventually. Once
Yeah.
they're no longer little wee ones.
That and you can't. There's a lot of things like we've talked about. Merchandise and other things that come out as like extra parts of this IP and stuff, and it's hard to market a 8-bit character, for example, or a very I just feel like it's a little bit harder to kind of put that into other items, those kind of older games. So maybe, I don't know.
I'm just grumpy. That's
I
all this boils down to. It's just like, not everything has to be tip top of the line, as sparkly as possible to be enjoyable. And
No.
if all you're going to do is make a game flash and no substance, which I'll argue a majority of games at launch are, at least,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, I have zero interest in it.
What I'd like to see is more of what we get out of a lot of games like Elder Scrolls games, which, by the way, I'd like to see more about the new Elder Scrolls more than just
Yeah.
a pan shot of like a landscape. But like those games always deliver a good amount of content on release, and they have stories and substance.
Mhm.
I'd like to see more of that from other games that are coming out, and I agree with you, Pinto. Like if you're gonna, like, I don't want the No Man's Sky syndrome. I don't want something to come out and be half done. I want something to come out and be fully playable, not buggy. I want Cyberpunk the done game, not Cyberpunk the gonna crash every 2
Almost
seconds.
made it.
Almost there. Almost there. I haven't tried again.
Oh, I haven't jumped back in since then.
But it's a great game when you can play it.
It is. Yeah, when it works the way it's supposed to.
So, but yeah, and even then, like, there's other games that I mean, Pinto, from what I'm hearing from you, is there's other games that aren't even just like trying that hard. Like the one I think of is Square's Marvel's Avengers, which everyone hated because it just became a lather, rinse, repeat loot box game.
Yep.
Don't do that.
No.
Build a real game. Show me that.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any final thoughts?
I can confirm that there was not yet, at least reported, an earthquake near Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So
bad gas.
So we're okay. Maybe. But yeah, it was just weird. It just all of a sudden my whole house was like vibrating, and outside like a car alarm went off, and there was nothing else out there that I thought of. So unless it was like a low flying plane or something, maybe. Like I said, we do have the Air Force One jets. They do practice takeoff and landing at an airport nearby. So maybe that was why. But it was weird.
They're flying to E3 to deliver the games.
Yeah, sorry to our YouTube fans for looking panicked there for a second, but the last time we had one, like 4 years ago, I didn't feel it. And this time I was like, what the heck's going on with my house all of a sudden? Yeah. I'll keep an eye out.
I would just like to pose a question to you guys in general, and it only like semi has to do with the topic, but the further, I feel like we've all had consoles, Fleming, you maybe not as much, but for all of us, for me personally, I have noticed with each generation, my game library is smaller and smaller. Like, I had a ton of PlayStation 1 games. A good chunk of PlayStation 2 games. PlayStation 3 games. My PlayStation 4 game library is not big at all. And I'm wondering if the trend's going to continue. I said I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5, but like, there's like a dozen games, physical copies next to me for my PlayStation 4. And there's probably like 3 or 4 more that I own that aren't on the shelf. And granted, I have some downloads as well. But I'm just wondering if that's just me, or if you guys are discovering that as well.
So, I think that's two things, Pinto.
One, we're old and responsible, and don't want to spend as much money on games.
Yeah,
that is definitely a factor.
We're older and more responsible, so I think we need to save. Like, it's harder for us to be like, oh, $70-$80 for a game. I could eat or I could buy this game. That's the first thing.
Megan and I are laughing on the other side of this fence, just like massive library of games we've touched twice.
Yeah. And then second, I think it's that up to this moment at least, most games are available on PC as well. And I know for me personally, I'd rather spend the $1,500, let's say, to have one of the best machines out there that I can do other things with and not feel clunky doing it. Or I could buy all 3 consoles, let's say, that are out.
This has been Fleming's Master Race PC endorsement. But
yes, so Master Race PC.
Well, that's where the exclusives come in, though, because that's why you need a Switch, because you have to play all your Nintendo games on a Switch, and you need like a
Stardew
PlayStation
Valley.
Play a lot of things on PlayStation. Yep, Stardew Valley.
On
every console.
On everything. Yeah, I own 4 different versions of Stardew Valley.
I have the opposite problem, which is I am a child with adult funds now, and
child with disposable income.
What I want, especially now that my student loans are, dwindling, thankfully.
I'm wondering if now that I have my car paid off, if I'm going to start spending my money a little more frivolously, but I don't think I am.
Yeah.
That's wise of you. But no, I'm with you, Megan. If I like a game, I buy a game. I have a bunch of games in my Steam library that I'm like, this looks cool, and then I haven't played it.
Right.
But do you guys ever look at, like, let's say you're buying a $50 game and you're like, okay, I get paid, I know this is not the case, but I get paid $50 an hour. That is 1 hour worth of time I need to work before the game. Yeah, exactly.
Is the FPM worth it?
The fun per minute. right? Like, is it worth it? And for me, that
Let
answer
me work
often
it.
is no.
That's a very responsible approach to things, and I don't take that.
I mean, just look at Tom's background. There's like 8 guitars hanging there. So,
And how many have been touched in the past month?
and how many
Has-
can you play at a time?
All of them.
That's
Challenge accepted.
I mean,
I do
can't.
what was it, Michelangelo Battia or whatever?
Yeah.
with
Yeah, 2 hands and 2 feet.
Yeah.
I
That's what I
mean,
do.
I'll be honest. I used to have a lot more guitars until I was like, I can only play one at a time. So I went from like 12 down to like 5.
Yeah, I have my reasons for having the ones that I have, and I've parted with some over the years. But hey, one of the ones back there's a bass too. Okay, so
Yeah, I have 2 of those. I understand. But again, I feel like it's the crotchety old man that's coming out at me where I'm like, these new games, they just don't appeal to me as much. And they really don't. They really don't appeal to me as much
I
anymore.
think there's some you would really enjoy, though.
I don't think you're wrong. I just, I don't know. I think I'm a creature of habit, and
Yeah.
new things scare me.
I think we all are, and I think that's part of getting old too. Like I play so much Crusader Kings 3. It was so hard to like get into, but now it's become like my go-to comfort
it's
game.
become your habit. So
Yeah,
now
exactly.
Now, as a creature of habit, it is your habit.
Yeah.
He can stop anytime he wants.
So
Hey,
they
I
say.
haven't touched Stardew Valley in like 2 weeks. So who's picked it up? Fleming.
I
Not
got
I.
so close actually the other day. I was thinking to myself, oh, I really want to play like something new. I want to find like change up the the nightly gaming kind of thing. And I was like, Stardew Valley, and I didn't pick it up then, but I got very close. Like I actually clicked on it in my Steam and was like, no, not right now. I still like
I
I
can't
need to
fall
play
down
more
this
Pokemon
rabbit
Snap.
hole.
I need to play more Pokemon Snap. I got the game. I played like 5 hours, let's say,
Oh.
worth of the game, and I love the game. It's so much fun. But it just every time I think of it, I'm just like, I don't
I
want to.
barely
Dude,
touched
yeah,
it.
you're me with Resident Evil 8 right now. Just like, I want to play more of it. I'm enjoying it. I just...
Yep. When you said that this at the start of the podcast, I thought the same thing because I was like, oh, I should have mentioned Pokemon Snap. How I haven't played.
I'm like,
the
oh
past-
god, I'm so tired. I won't be able to really enjoy it. I'll just be like, I'm so tired, and I'm not actually like paying close enough attention and enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, this past weekend was my first weekend of like having nothing to do. Like there was literally nobody coming over, nothing, and I should have spent the time
Playing Pokemon Snap.
playing Pokemon Snap, but I proceeded to just kind of sit there and be like, duh, until Monday morning.
You were tired.
So,
Yes, I do.
I
that all
was
the
so
time.
tired this
Yeah.
past weekend. So I need to get back into it personally. But I think that's where I'm at when it comes to the consoles and buying more games. I just to outlay, like I had to buy the console before I even get to play games with it. And that's a huge expense in my mind, like $600, $500, depending on the console and the version. I'm like, maybe when there's a game I really want, then I'll do it.
Yeah,
or like when it's a bit cheaper. But right now,
That's where I'm at. And soon I'll just be able to go to Megan's apartment and play her PS5. So
there you go. Yeah.
In due
Good time.
time.
yeah, a couple weeks. I'll be like, guys, I played Returnal. It was amazing. I gotta go buy a PS5.
All right. Well, as always, friends, thank you for indulging me in this week's topic. Listeners, if you are excited about something that you're looking forward to, maybe at E3, that was a weird sentence. Tell us what you would like to hear about at E3 and or see. As always, you can find us online on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at JoyPad Pod. You can send us emails. If you would like us to talk about something in particular, send us an email at joypadpod@gmail.com or message us on Facebook. That's our most active form of social media. And you can also find us on YouTube at JoyPad. You can see some of our playthroughs of games. Hopefully we'll put some more stuff in the library there. But that's about it from me. Tom, do you want to do your thing?
Tell us on YouTube how we should torture Megan with more Lego Final Fantasy VII and have her name characters with other numbers at the ends of their names.
Yeah, that was a trend when we played a game with another one of our friends too, where she just added a random letter to the end of a character's name, and she was like, "I regret this. I'm going to be regretting this for the rest of the game." Where she named Squall in Final Fantasy VIII Squally, and she put a J at the end of Renoa's name, so it was Renoage, which sounds like just a brutal STI, but
I was gonna say it sounds like something Square would name a character. Anyhow, sorry folks. Thank you. We hope we've given you an amazing showcase of the JoyPad pod here today. If you have any questions, please make sure that they're accurate up front and confirmed by our PR department. And while you're at it, stay joyful.
Oh, and send us your favorite fan fiction. Bye.
Oh, God, no.
Bye.
That's getting edited out.